Welcome back, everybody, to NFL Draft Live. Jake Shavink here. I am joined as always, as usually, I should say, because we did have one special guest during Combine Week, but Nate Williamson is back, and we got a lot of shows in the next month or so. So gear up. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Nate, how you doing on this fine Thursday? As always, it's a nice Thursday.
I'm good, man. Just relaxing, chilling. Today got my work done and pretty much just hung out. I'm going to the beach tomorrow on an impromptu little road trip. Gonna be working Oceanside, so I'm just looking forward to it.
So when you're Oceanside and you fire up the tape, Nate.
Yeah.
Who's the first prospect? Because I know you love Oceanside. Who's the first prospect that comes to mind where you're like, man, I would love to watch this guy Oceanside? I know it's not anybody we're talking about tonight. That's for sure.
No, it's not. No, I would rather watch them while I'm drowning in the ocean. I'm not really sure a good place to watch them. No offense, I'm just not sure there is a good place to watch them.
Yeah, it's fair.
I think, honestly, the way I look at it, one of my favorite guys, and I think he's your wide receiver one too, right? Garrett Wilson.
Heck yeah, brother.
Is somebody who I just think of
brother.
I can relax, I can watch him and just kind of chill, like let it all come to me.
100%. Braden, how's it going, man? Glad to see you on the show. And yes, we are. Garrett Wilson's a great player. We're going to get to him eventually, and the rest of the receivers in a little bit next month, most likely. But today. I was thinking you were going to go Jermaine Johnson. I really did, because Florida State near Tallahassee, Oceanside, I thought made sense. But we're going to talk quarterbacks today.
Tallahassee, though, it's gross.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk quarterbacks today, and it's going to be a tough ride. I think we're going to get through it though. Nate said something pre-show. Nate, I want you to say what you said pre-show about what you brought and what the difference is tonight when we talk about quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you've been watching this, or honestly, almost any of our shows for any extended length of time or short length of time,
It's true.
I can't get my mug in the picture, but I always have coffee. Coffee is a staple in my household. But I also tonight have to have alcohol. Otherwise, this is going to be miserable for me.
I mean, it's true.
You know me. My big thing is I don't love watching quarterbacks in general.
It's not
I definitely don't like watching 2022
detailed. It's detailed. There's a lot that goes into every play, because I feel like when you're watching other prospects, you can even talk receiver. You're looking at coverage. You're looking at how they're attacking coverage. You're not necessarily worried about offensive line. Quarterback, you got to be worried about everything.
Yeah.
So it's a painstaking process to get through these guys, and like we said, even more so this year. But there are those out there who still like the class, and I think it's fine. You can like the class. I mean, who knows? Maybe by some miracle of our Lord in 2022, there are more starters in this class than last one. That's going to be the biggest miracle I've ever seen. But
yes,
you never know with these things. That's
like
draft.
Part the Red Sea.
Yeah, that is parting the Red Sea. It's true. But again, we never know with the NFL draft. So we're going to go through the big six, really. And if you're not familiar who the big six are, we'll get there. But we're going through the big six that have been talked about most in the first couple rounds of the draft and put in mocks, and they've garnered the most attention. We'll get into a few sleepers after that, and then we'll throw out rankings. Maybe we'll do some projecting, who goes in round one and whatnot. So we'll get to all of that. Nate, you don't get to see on my screen who we get to start with. Wait, do you? Can you see my banners?
I can't see it.
Oh, you can't, because I haven't given him control. So he does not know who we're starting with. We're starting with Malik Willis, Nate. That's
I kind of figured
direction.
That would be who we.
I think it's the right direction to go. And Braden said
it's the first person on my sheet. So,
well, there you go. And Braden says he hasn't heard anything about Strong since Senior Bowl. Well, guess what? We're going to talk Carson Strong, but not this second. We're going to talk Malik Willis first, who I think's obviously had, I would say, the best pre-draft process of many of these quarterbacks. I think it's fair to say. I think when you talk about going down to Mobile and really showing that, in these team drills where you go through plays and you have to kind of look comfortable, something that maybe he's not, as known for when you look at the film, but goes down there, does a good job in the interview, I would say, with a bunch of seniors down there. So, and from everything we heard at the combine, it sounds like he did well down there. And then there's obviously that video at the combine of him with the homeless person.
Mm-hmm.
So he's done everything right. And he's probably, Nate, do you think he's the first quarterback off the board?
I think he's likely to be the first quarterback off the board.
Okay.
You know, if you're going to pick one, he's got my top ranking, you know, as we stand right now. And just a guy that I think everybody's going to love the physical gifts that, you know, he brings to the table. You know, there's some to be desired, you know, and, you know, he asked a lot out of his receivers at Liberty, you know, as far as catching out of their frame and out of their, you know, hot catch zone. But in all fairness to him, there might not be a quarterback who was more limited by where he went to school than he was, which makes him such a hard prospect to develop and may actually make him some money because if he was at a bigger school, we might know a little more. You know, as weird as that sounds 100%. To say, it might work to his advantage to be at a smaller school. But I think he fits a lot of teams and what they're looking for in a new age NFL.
Yeah, I think the new age, that's I think the most important thing for sure is the new age. You know, he's got a howitzer attached to him. I think it's fair to say. Maybe not quite at the level Josh Allen's howitzer, but you know, when you look at Willis, the arm strength is there, and he makes some great throws with velocity on the run, on the move. He'll to every level, no problems there. Obviously, playmaking ability and mobility is not an issue there at all either. We talked about physical gifts. He's a tough runner too. He's a quick runner. He's elusive, but he's also tough in the mold of a Trey Lance type of runner who's tough, but he's also got the kind of Lamar-esque, you know, elusiveness to him as well. But I think what makes him, Nate, like you said, so difficult is how many times it feels like he kind of bails off of a read. And I will say, and I tweeted about this the other night because I sat down to watch Willis. I'm like, I got to finish Willis for the show. Go in there, and I the first game, I wanted to see one game of 2020 from everybody just to get some sort of baseline to see, okay, where are we at? Where's our baseline from 20? Where do we go from there? First play in the Syracuse game from 2020. We're running spacing out of 3x1, and there's a backside dig. Guess what? Backside dig's wide open. Guess what happens? Didn't see it, leaves the pocket before it's there. So, the frustration level was at a 9 right away. And so, but that it comes down to, again, I think he did a better job. I think the processing was a little bit better in terms of what he saw post snap in 2021. I still think it's got a ways to go. But my question is, Nate, is how much of the eye drop, you know, to the rush, how much is bailing early a product of the fact that there was a lot of times he didn't have time. So how do you base an evaluation off of, okay, does this guy even trust his offensive line to block for him? In other concepts? Does he, you know, in an offense that was, you know, with the play calling was kind of, there was some Oregon Justin Herbert stuff with the play calling as well. We're kind of like, all right, well, there's plays where he's literally got nowhere to go. There's guys just standing around in the concept. Nobody's open. So how much of that trust? And he's like, all right, nobody's open. I got to do something with it. And also I have no time. So I got to do something with it. Play into what we saw on film. That's like, I think that's the biggest question of this whole thing is like, how much does that play into what we saw?
Well, I think if you have the answer to that question, you have the answer to pretty much this entire
all of life's questions, maybe.
that's a good. Yeah, it goes deeper than that. You know, I think that is going to be one of the toughest things, as I mentioned. It's hard to scout someone when you don't really know, you know, how much confidence they have in the big men in front of him. Because if you got turnstiles in front of you, the best quarterback isn't going to be a great quarterback. You know, the one thing that I will say. Is he's not what you would probably call a traditional pocket passer. So maybe you get a little more idea because he is creative and that like the need to create in a loose sense might push him out of the pocket, you know, whatever. Whereas if you had a guy like Carson Strong, somebody that doesn't need to stay in the pocket, you learn even less about him in that situation. Whereas now we know Malik Willis is a plus athlete. He can get out there and make it happen. And you know, maybe there is no more to learn, but maybe we are missing out on a lot of the in zone or in pocket reads that he can make if he's given the time.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, you know, all this stuff around can turn you into an average, below average quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, 2015-16, there was a stretch where, where he's not anticipating receivers coming open, has to do something himself, and everything was thrown out of whack. So that could be the case with Malik Willis. But I do think that, again, there's just ways to go in terms of what's going on post snap with him, and that's just not going to change. And in a overnight, that it's going to take time. So wherever he goes, I can't imagine he's a starter. And you're kind of looking at, so Willis fits right in Seattle, Mitch. That's a great point. Wilson always running for his life, indeed. Mitch also said Falcons. Braden said not whether sure to buy into the recent hype of Willis going to Detroit at 2. I kind of agree with what he said there, using leverage for a trade up, I think is true. But back to the post snap processing is just like, it's not going to change overnight. He has to know and trust that, okay, I've got time. I can go through my reads. I understand where I'm going with this football and this concept. Like, I just think the learning curve is something where you throw them out there in year one, it's just, you're going to see kind of a disastrous product. But obviously we've seen that before with disastrous products turn into hopefully a little bit better. Not saying he's going to be the outlier of outliers that was Josh Allen. But I do think that the accuracy on the move was something that surprised me a little bit more. Obviously, the velocity he generates is there, and I think accuracy looked better in 2021. But I think the biggest selling point is obviously going to be, we can design a playbook around this guy who can run all over the place, and we can get in quarterback power, we can get in read option, we can do all these things. But when he's out on the move, if you want to get into plays where, okay, we're going to have him boot, we're going to move the pocket for him, I don't see accuracy as an issue on the run for me. And so, like, that's something that jumped out that I was kind of surprised with from Malik Willis. So,
yeah, no, I think that's perfectly fair with him. I think to some degree I have him as my number one because, and I guess this answers the earlier question about how much are we missing based on who's. I think we kind of know what we get with Malik Willis. I think we can see a good enough athlete and a good enough physical presence to make an impact. And if the rest of it comes along, that's great. That's why I would label him, I think, a developmental starter as he currently sits. And I think that's the floor. Floors are low, ceilings are high.
So, yeah, I think what you're saying is the floor for him is kind of a guy who creates, and you can build a rushing offense around. And if the processing tools hit, the ceiling is the roof.
Yes,
because the athletic the tools are there.
Econ has me confused.
He's toolsy. He's toolsy. That's a great. That's how people are going to describe him. So that's what I think is interesting. Is could he actually be the second overall pick? Like, is this thing real about Detroit at 2? Because right now I don't buy it for a second. I think Detroit wants more picks, get more impact players. They're looking for any way to move out of 2 because they believe that Aiden Hutchinson is going first. Are you on the same page in terms of that, Nate? Do you think that's the case?
It'll tell you what I think, and I'm obviously not the be-all, end-all. Truthfully, he's my QB1, maybe an early second-round grade, somewhere along there. I just think teams are smart. A pick there, maybe, I think what you said about them leveraging, for trade, etc., is probably the most likely thing. And I think especially with that number 2 pick, there is plenty of holes to fill. And I know quarterback's a big one. I just don't think this is where you really go all out and bet the house on a guy in this class, with the number 2 pick.
Yeah. Floor Brett Hundley ceiling Michael Vick is interesting.
What a wide range of talent there. I love that.
That's exactly the point we're making here is like this quarterback class, the ceiling floor stuff is ridiculous. It truly is. It truly is ridiculous. And so, like, I think for me, Willis, I don't think anybody's getting higher than a 2. I don't imagine it's going to be an early 2 for me. I think this class is going to just take kind of an extreme backseat to a lot of other positions in terms of where I have guys evaluated, and that's okay. I think, but again, we talked about this. Willis, the ceiling is high for a player like this because you just don't see arms like this And we have in recent years seen more arms like this, but you don't see arms
Sure.
like this. You don't see the athletic ability like this. Like there's no reason that I don't think anyway, you can't see a guy like this and be like, yeah, Jalen Hurts can do this. Yeah, Cactus on the screen making a guest appearance. But like if Jalen Hurts can do some things that he can do in Philly, right, where he's still bringing himself along, like he is by no means a finished product. There are still the same kind of concerns with he's missing guys in his progressions. Like you tell me Malik Willis can't be Jalen Hurts right now. I think he can. I think it's in that similar mold of player where you're getting a good floor because the guy can sling it around the yard and he's athletic and he can move around. I mean, is that a starter? And Cody asks, is he the second quarterback off the board? I think the only way that he is second off the board is if Carolina is undoubtedly sold on Kenny Pickett, which I think is kind of crazy. In the top 6, to be honest. So it's possible, but I would say no. I
think Kenny Pickett comes off the board second. I really do.
I would tend to agree. Yes.
Yeah. I think after that, there's arguments to be made. I think they're all rated pretty similarly for me.
Yep.
Down even to like probably 5 or 6, other than I think there's different ceilings for these prospects, but definitely like where they stand currently, it's going to be a little different.
What I've always wondered, go ahead.
In a little bit, I have a reason to bring up Jalen Hurts again. Just
okay.
If I don't bring that up naturally,
there's only 2 other quarterbacks that I think you could bring up Jalen Hurts for. So I am imagining who it is, but we'll get there. Oh shoot, I was thinking about something and I forgot.
Wait, I want your guess on who it might be. I want your guess on who I might bring up.
I'm going to message you on who it is.
Okay, yeah, that works.
So the people don't know?
Yeah, because I want it to come up naturally, but
I sent you who I think it is. What?
I'm not answering.
You're not answering. Okay. Carolina likes him, but they have to trade down. Yeah, I think the Carolina liking Pickett is real. The question is like, yeah, if you can move down from 6 and still get him, that's better than taking him at 6. So what I was gonna bring up is we brought up the floor and ceiling stuff. I really want to find a way, and I might add it this year, is trying to quantify like the ceiling floor stuff with prospects, because it's easy to kind of just rank prospects as we see them right now. And then there are some who do a great job of projecting ceiling into their rankings, which I like too. That's very good. I want to try and build 2 separate things that you can see that and be like, okay, yeah, I understand the outcomes here of these guys. And I know there's not 2 outcomes, but like, oh, where'd he fall in this like spectrum? And I think Danny Kelly does a good job of that at the Ringer, with like shades of, and they if you've ever heard that, heard them talk about it on the draft show that they do on the Ringer. I like that idea of building kind of a scale and where do they fall. So we talked about Malik Willis. Let's talk about the guy that we've brought up a couple other times already, is Kenny Pickett, who for 4 years, production was middle of the road to maybe even below average. And then production takes a major leap in year 5 for some reason. And builds his way into Heisman conversation and, wins the ACC. And now we're talking about Kenny Pickett as like, okay, this is our big riser. This was our Joe Burrow of this class, however you want to phrase it. I don't like using that because he's just not Joe Burrow. And we'll get into why he's not Joe Burrow. But like, Nate, initial thoughts. Yeah, I know. I get it. But like, in terms of making a rise, somebody has to be the quote unquote riser of the draft class.
No doubt.
It's probably him. It could be Willis. I feel like Willis was more on the radar because of his arm and because of his tools in the summer than Pickett was.
Yeah.
Even though we mentioned both, I think both were mentioned at the very least. But I do think Pickett was maybe a little bit pushed off the radar because of lack of tools. Nate, first thoughts right now on Kenny Pickett. What do you have?
I really like Kenny Pickett. I think Kenny Pickett might be the most pro-ready quarterback out of the group. Just in terms of ready to step in and do it all. Quick release, good arm strength, can make those anticipation throws that I think are so required at the next level. There's a slight accuracy issue and a slight question about the level of play. 1 year of top, I would call elite quality play, is something that brings questions up. I think, to your credit and to like, you were quoting people, but like the Joe Burrow light is what I see a lot. And I I get that. I totally agree. Just a guy that has that rise, comes out. But I think my biggest gripe is how much he trusts that superb arm a little bit over his creativity to make plays outside. But otherwise, I really do like Kenny Pickett. I think these first two guys, and for good reason, we're talking about them first and second, are the two that if I had to put money on to be, at least good starters, there you go.
I think that's fair. And that's kind of like you said, why they've both climbed up the board a little bit. And Braden is asking, is Pickett probably the most accurate passer of the class?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's an argument for another guy we're going to bring up later. It might not be who you think it is, but I do think there's another quarterback who I think has been accurate almost to that level. But I would say probably the most accurate for overall is probably Pickett. Yeah. I hate those because that's funny. Whose hands are talked about more, Pickett or Trump? It's definitely Pickett, believe it or not. I can't. It's Pickett. As crazy as it sounds, we didn't even. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but here we are. We're talking about hand size with Kenny Pickett, which apparently has gotten bigger somehow over the process.
It's weird how that works.
His arm out. Okay,
he's doing the stretches.
He's doing the stretches. Credit to him for doing so.
Put in the work.
But yeah, that the whole thing, and I get it. I understand why people have concerns with hand size because of gripping the football, because of conditions, because if you get slapped on the arm, by a rusher, if you have bigger hands, you're probably more likely to hang on to said football. And so I understand where, again, Joe Burrow made the funny comment. I love it. I thought it was hilarious when he did it. He said, I just realized I can't play in the NFL anymore because of my hand size. Yep. Joe Burrow had 9-inch hands, though. So, it wasn't like, nobody with Joe Burrow's hands makes it. They were like, I think it was just more just kind of like something to comment on. It was like, his hands maybe were smaller than I thought they were or something. I don't remember them being as huge an issue as obviously this is, because 8 1/4 was what people thought. That would have been 0th percentile. 8 1/2 is what we got. That's still really, really low. So, and why Kenny Two Gloves is a thing. So I actually like the Teddy Bridgewater comp more than anything, and not because of the 2 gloves necessarily, but I think this was a guy who's like, okay, this is a consistent pocket passing type who has made a few plays out of structure, and again has just kind of a guy you're like, okay, he's maybe not, the ceiling isn't super high, but you like a high floor potential starter in Kenny Pickett. So I think the Bridgewater comp makes a ton of sense. What I will say about Pickett, though, that I think concerns me a little bit more is I don't know if he's if he really wants to make these creative plays out of structure, because he tries to do it more than he has to do it. Because there are plays where the pocket is clean and guys are running over the middle field open. And Kenny Pickett's just kind of like, it would be a shame if I left this clean pocket and try and make a play and try and make something happen, and I get sacked for a loss of 15.
Yep.
Or I run out of a play and I end up throwing it away when I had a guy over the middle wide open. There are plays that Tennessee game had a few of those where it was like pockets clean. You got kind of a levels, double ins concept. Guys are running over the middle. They're right there, bud. Right there. Throw it there. like you're just trying to talk to him to do the right thing. And you're like, throw it there. And he's like, no. I'm going to go Russell Wilson on this son of a gun, and I'm going to try and make something happen. It's like, no, you don't need to do that. So I think there is that kind of thing with him where that bugs me a lot. But I still like the floor. And I think the other thing is the accuracy hiccups are often when you see him kind of, and good quarterbacks, they maneuver, right? They shift, they move off their platform to get into a better space to make a throw. That happens. But you see Pickett sometimes kind of sort of move into that space and then still be throwing the ball right away. And you see these I don't know if he's trying to overcompensate. He has to be when he's moving to try, and he'll miss some throws left. When he's going left, there'll be some throws where he's moving left, evading pressure like he should, and there are just guys he kind of just misses. And it's not deep throws necessarily; it's just, again, intermediate routes. And so that couple just minor things, but I do think the floor is a solid starting. Can he reach Kirk Cousins? I don't see why not Derek Carr. Like I don't see why he can't reach that.
My biggest, I think, and it's just a reaffirmation of that. That movement in the pocket is kind of like alcohol. Good level to, and then with much of it, it makes you want to throw up because you get sacked 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage when you had a clean pocket and you had an open man over the middle. That's the equivalent of 40 fireball shots at a bar on a Tuesday night. Sometimes it's just a bad decision to leave the pocket.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's the one thing I think. And there are plenty of quick game, intermediate concepts where it's in rhythm, everything's flowing. And that's where you see Pickett get into these grooves where like, okay, this is what I'm talking about in this quarterback class. But I still think, again, there are limitations. And then there are a couple of things that we mentioned where it's kind of like, I don't want to keep seeing this over and over in the league where it's like, pass rush is faster. The windows are smaller. Like you need to make these throws on rhythm on time. So that's where we're with Kenny Pickett. Nate, do you have some ideal landing spot that you'd like to see Pickett go where you're like, oh, I kind of like what he'd have here? Nobody's off limits, Nate. If you want to say Lions at 32, don't care. Say it.
For me, these first two guys, I just get like, mainly because I think out of curiosity for these guys and how these, like, especially this coach would develop them to kind of bring up their floor aspects, the lesser aspects. I think I would like to see either of them go to Pittsburgh. I think Mitch Trubisky will fill in for a little bit, probably a year. Yeah. But I think that's more the plan, maybe even to give them some time to develop 1 year. If it doesn't work out, if they do decide to do that this year, if they don't do it this year, they're probably going to do it next year. Yeah. Because I just don't think they see Mitch Trubisky as the future. If he happens to be that, all the more power to him and great signing by them. But it would just be interesting, these guys that are so able to move out of the pocket, to see them go in and compete in an AFC that has quarterbacks like that. But also Mike Tomlin, a coach that we all really do recognize as someone who is a great coach, someone that can bring them along. I just think that's a fun landing spot for them. And it's instantly what comes to mind. It might not be the best fit, but I think it would be a successful landing location out of a QB somewhat needy team.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think just based on what I've seen Goff do in Detroit, I would love it if Detroit could get him at like 32. Just because that would be great. It's like, okay, we didn't have to spend a high pick for this guy. We got a potential superstar at the top. No problem. Let's get a 5th-year option on this guy. And if he doesn't start over Goff year 1, oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Try him out again. Roll it with him in 2023. I like that a lot. I do think I kind of like Washington for Pickett a little bit as well, because I do think there's enough receiver talent there, and I think they could bring him along, I think, pretty well in terms of, okay, you can make these short reads, these intermediate throws. You have a guy McLaurin who's just absolute dynamite. We know this, but I probably wouldn't. I would probably advise against Washington doing that at 11, just because I think there are a lot of players on the board. So I don't know what to do. But I would like that landing spot like 47 if you're Washington. But obviously,
have you seen Pickett comp to Andy Dalton?
I've seen Pickett comp to Dalton. I've seen his ceiling is Tony Romo. I've seen Burrow
as a broadcaster or a quarterback.
As a quarterback. I've seen, what else have I seen? I've seen Cousins. I've seen Carr. I like Bridgewater. That's my favorite one, I would say. I don't remember who came up with it, but I like Bridgewater as one. It's just like, I think he'll end up being, and I feel for this, but I feel like he'll end up being the guy where you're kind of like almost in QB limbo by the time the first contract is up, and you're like, should we pay him? And if I'm in that like area, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Top 15? I don't think so. So that's where I'm kind of at with Pickett. It's hard because I feel like the floor is nice and he can be, like I said, a Cousins Carr type. But what is that? Matt Ryan. That's I like a certain other guy for Matt Ryan personally. that I think we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Ridder for the Lions. That's interesting because we're about to talk about Desmond Ridder, Mitch. So there you go. We're going to go into Desmond Ridder now, who, Nate, I'm going to say it, might be my QB1.
Well, you did
crazy
mention Josh Allen earlier in the show, so I think that's fair.
Listen, I don't want to join the. I didn't think I'd end up even thinking about joining this train because there have been some guys at BR, some guys at the Ringer, some guys all over around the draft blogosphere that have said, you know what, I'm hitching my wagon to Desmond Ridder. I'm like, really? Gonna hitch your wagon to Desmond Ridder? And then I go to Desmond Ridder's film. I'm like, oh, I see why you're doing this. I still wouldn't take him top 25, 32. I don't know. But I get it because
second round.
Nate, do you want to go first, Nate?
No.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I do think there are times with Ridder where the Cincinnati's got concepts and he sees post snap. He's like, this is where I'm going. And I'm like, yes, you're going there. That's correct. I love that. And the problem is there will be times where it's like, all right, we're running this bubble screen. Why did you miss him by 5 yards to the right or left? And what are you doing? There'll be times with pressure where it's like, okay, your feet are not supposed to be parallel to one another facing the end zone.
Yeah.
So there are those times where I don't know if it's just like a thing for him where the nerves are high and the adrenaline's pumping early game where he's just like, yes, I'm going to miss 3 or 4 of these bunnies, unfortunately for you, that I'm going to miss these. But once everything settles down, I'm going to rip some into tight windows against zone. I'm going to find the tight end running a fade from the slot, and I'm going to put the ball on the money for him. We're running 9-8-9, and I'm hitting the post between the two safeties. Yes, and that arm talent is there, and I'm like, hello, we've got a player. The problem is the high variance is nuts.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of where I'm at with him. I just if he can just, and we're going to say this about every player that we talk about tonight, if he can put it all together, we got ourselves a starter. We've got ourselves a starter, and that's where Ridder's at. If he just stop missing guys in the flat or running backs releasing late in routes, like just keep your wits about you, keep your feet about you. Don't aim, just let it go, and we're okay.
I think that if they can get it all together is another draftism that we just hear every 5 minutes from everyone who's ever watched an NFL game. My paper keeps falling over. It doesn't want me to talk about Desmond Ridder. Sometimes Desmond Ridder just looks awkward. Like he just doesn't look like he fits there. And I don't know what it is. Don't mean that as an insult because Lord knows you throw me into a community recreation flag football game at a quarterback and I'm peeing down my leg. But like sometimes it just looks like there is a little bit of nervousness there. It's just an awkward, and that translates into his improv. I think in the pocket and out of the pocket. Yeah. Sometimes he gets out there and it's just like, what, Desmond, what are you doing, bro? Like, and for someone with the IQ that he has, the football IQ, which is high, and the
gets there.
He has being a well-versed starter, for a team in Cincinnati that recently has had a competitive advantage in the teams that they play. It's just interesting. It's a very interesting thing to watch. He's a boomer bust. I think that is the best way to describe Desmond Ridder's boomer bust.
Draftism. Another draftism there, boomer bust.
They're all over.
We got to do this for the live show, Nate. I think is when we say a draftism, there's got to be something. There's got to be something with a draftism.
If you make me drink every time I do a draftism, I will pass out before the second round
I don't
starts.
think so.
Third round starts.
Maybe we'll tally him for something. But athleticism, arm, it's there. Like you're there 1 minute, and the next minute you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
with this. And it's like Willis. It's a very similar thing to Willis. And Pickett, you're kind of like, yes, we're good. Why must you leave this pocket? There are just the level of frustration that I feel watching these guys is difficult. It's so hard to go from, man, Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Mac Jones doesn't have the physical traits, but darn it, he knows where he's going with the ball. And then and Zach Wilson's physical traits are off the charts. And you go here and you're like, all right, physical traits are off the chart. What are we doing? Sometimes like we're just, and again, it's accuracy lapses, but you live with those 4 or 5 absolute darts in big moments for some reason down the line where you're like, yes, we can do it with this guy. And the moxie and confidence is certainly there with him. Going into Notre Dame, winning that game, putting a little extra flair on the rushing touchdown, kind of, and when they sealed the deal, love that. Alabama game's not fair for him. That's a tough game to evaluate. You want to see, basically, if you want to see what Malik Willis had to deal with when they played like Ole Miss, just watch Ridder against Alabama, and that's the same thing. So, again, with Ridder, post-snap processing, love it. Pre-snap, I don't think he's there. But again, post-snap's, I think, good when everything's clean. When he's got to maneuver around, and that's, like Nate said, it kind of gets dicey when he's trying to move around. I think he needs to work on finding that space. So, again, it's another guy where you're like, where are you comfortable taking this guy? I would still probably, again, say Detroit at 32. What about you, Nate? You got a spot for him that you like?
I wouldn't like anything above pick 33. Okay. That's for sure. I don't think I would probably like anything.
You don't want that 5th-year option just in case for a toolsy guy?
No, sir.
Post snap?
No, sir.
No, still no. Still no.
I have seen what a contract can do. You may forget this, but I've had the emotional turmoil of watching the Taysom Hill saga for the last 4 years, and I would describe him as a very toolsy guy.
Hey, but Ridder, 5th year, you just don't have to pick it up. You can have some team like Carolina trade with you, and they can pick it up.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you want, that's an option. But yeah, the rushing ability.
No, sir.
Braden, the rushing ability does make a difference. He definitely has that, and that's certainly part of it. And that's, again, where I think you see him as the tools aren't Willis level, but they're Willis light with two lights. But I do think post snap, I like what I see. I do like what I see post snaps. I do think he has a great idea of where he needs to go with a lot of pro concepts. So I like that. Atlanta, with one of their seconds, I'm on board for sure. Seattle has a couple of them. Sure. If you want to go with, again, you want to get Sauce, you want to get Jermaine Johnson at 9, and you get a quarterback in the 2nd, and you don't want to spend the 1st, well, Desmond Ridder, love that. I think that's the other where you're like, okay, Desmond Ridder, floor might be more athletic Daniel Jones. Ceiling could be where we think Lawrence is now. Maybe not quite there. Oh man, it's hard to find the ceiling for him. I don't
could be lower than that. It honestly could be higher.
Daniel Jones, but the floor is Daniel Jones on his worst night, and the ceiling is
Trevor Lawrence on his best night at the current state.
The best night version of Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones combination.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, I think you might rethink that after Matt Ryan this year. I think Matt Ryan will come out and be a completely different quarterback this year.
Hey, Desmond Ridder could maybe reach that. I think Ridder. If you put Ridder and Pickett at each other's ceilings, the ceiling for Ridder is definitely above that 12 to 17 mark at quarterback, where you're constantly thinking about, do we need to replace this guy? But the floor is, we're looking in 2024 already, especially if you started him this year and this in the next year. The floor is like 2 years from now. We're not picking up that 5th if we moved up for that 5th year, and we're moving right along.
I mean, Ridder's 2 years younger, almost 2 full years younger than Kenny Pickett. So,
yeah, that's the thing. Pickett's age is a thing,
and they are thinking about that.
24. Ridder is actually only a year and a couple months younger.
Okay, so it's like,
so he's a 99 guy. Pickett's a June 98. So,
Ridder's
still up there. Ridder will be 23 as a rookie in his rookie season. Pickett will be 24. Willis will be 23. So we're going to get to the youngest guy in a little bit. But right now, Nate, we're going to go to Matt Corral. Talk a little bit about Matt Corral. Matt Corral from Hottie Toddy from Mississippi. Player who, if you've read some stuff on the off-field stuff and what he's been doing at Mississippi, it's kind of wild. But has admitted it, at least part of it from what I heard, has admitted it, said this is a problem, I fixed the problem. Great. Looks like a Baker type emotional leader on the field. Do with that what you will.
Yeah, rough around the edges, Baker Mayfield.
Rough around the edges. Yeah. But had about one of the wilder contrasting seasons we've seen at a quarterback position where it was like, okay, 2020 was, man, this dude's letting it loose. The arm talent's flying. He's going all over the place trying to win games. But he's also doing the most absolutely ludicrous things I've ever seen. Why are you throwing this ball into this window? Like the ball security was not there at all. Kiffin comes in, says, all right, RPOs all day, baby. And to his credit, Matt Corral looked excellent running said RPOs. I think he had a great idea of the post snap, where to go. That plenty of times where I think his best RPOs are finding that tight end up the seam when both linebackers are crashing and he sees it. The release is quick. He's quick to set his feet and the ball comes out with good velocity. I think the accuracy this season is where you kind of get into that. Okay, he's almost Pickett. He's almost Pickett with accuracy. The Louisville game was nuts. A couple windows, had a couple great throws against Alabama. One that was unfortunately incomplete that you've probably seen on Twitter because it's an insane throw. The question is, how do we find this medium between we're running our RPOs all the time, aka Tua Tagovailoa in 2021, to where like, okay, we can work with these concepts, elevated concepts where we don't have to be in RPOs all the time, but please don't turn the ball over. So we're in this like, let's find the medium with Corral, and I think Corral does well, Nate, poise, operating with chaos around him. I don't know if the presence to find open space and be like, and I'm using this term because he's the best to do this. Tom Brady, when he finds space and when he can create the space, like to see quarterbacks just kind of master that to an intermediate level is what I like to see coming out. I think it can be better there, but I don't think it's bad. Clearly the arm talent's there. There's enough. Mobility's there. Obviously can be a rushing threat. But we've seen the stock go down a little bit. Maybe because, again, he wasn't at the Senior Bowl like the rest. Yeah. And he, had an injury in the bowl game that he actually played in. Played in the bowl game, didn't have to. Nice. Yep. So that's the thing. Like, where are we at, Nate, with a guy like Matt Corral? At least where are you at with a guy like Matt Corral?
Well, I think in this class, Matt Corral has a little bit of an not upper hand so much isn't the word I want to use, but a better chance in this class than a lot of classes. I think and this is what we were talking about earlier I think he is a little bit more like a stronger arm Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield combo out there. I think a lot of that probably has to do with the fact of his leadership and some spark. But yeah, I think it's a guy who, to me, in my notes, he's got a fast release, above average arm talent.
For sure.
He does have one trait that I like, and I'll give him this over a lot of QBs in this class. This man plays like he has amnesia. He comes out and he'll miss a throw, which a lot of the up and down in his career, as far as, ball security, missing some placements on throws, which is another weakness, it comes and he'll do that one play. Next play, he comes out and makes one of those throws where you're like, what? Like, is this the same guy that we saw literally the last play? I think that's one thing that I'll give him that stands out from just watching him. I don't think the deep ball is the most accurate thing, but I think there's a lot of potential, and I would not be that surprised, and I'm just going to say this because it will not happen when I say it, if he ends up being a top 2 quarterback in this class. When it's all said and done and we're looking back on it, I think he's a guy that could very well stick around.
I tend to agree. I think it's if you have him in your top 2 quarterbacks, like I said, I think you could have probably any combination of the top 6 guys in your top 2, and I'd be like, okay, makes sense to me. If you provide enough rationale, I can get behind it. Mitch says he's 6 feet tall. Believe it or not, I don't know if you guys know this, at least from the verified measurements that I have. Malik Willis is 6'0" 4/8. Matt Corral is 6'1" 5/8. Believe it or not, from verified measurements I have. That might shock a lot of people. It probably will shock you a little bit. He's taller than Sam Howell as well, who's 6'0" and 5/8. Believe it or not, Malik Willis not the tallest guy. Obviously not like a Desmond Ridder or a Kenny Pickett, who are both above 6'3", but yeah, 6 feet tall. I get it. But this is where I feel like he has kind of, Matt Corral has kind of done the marriage of a Hurts and a Tua Tagovailoa, because I think the accuracy is there. He's mastered the RPO. Tua has definitely mastered the RPO. He's got more rushing upside of a Jalen Hurts than a Tua did. So I think he's kind of married the two together as prospects, maybe not to the level of again, post-snap processing and judgment lapses where he can't reach where Tua was as a prospect. But I do understand folks who are still on him for QB1 or even QB2, because what he flashed this year, the arm, like Nate said, above average arm talent, the quick release is there. I think he's flashed accuracy and very good ball placement to every level.
Yeah.
Which is why I said I think the accuracy is close, not quite there to a Kenny Pickett in this class. If you look at overall accuracy. So I get it. I get it. And he's scrappy. He plays tough. He does all those things that you would describe Patriots slot receiver. He does all those things. So I'm not going to go through them, but like, he's a guy who I think you could look at and be like, yeah, I wouldn't hate the idea of this dude leading my team as long as I can take him in the second round.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea of Matt Corral on my team necessarily. I mean, if I have Patrick Mahomes, I'll want him on the team, but like, I understand.
I think
Pittsburgh runs a lot of RPOs, Nate.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
RPOs.
It's a place you'll see him mocked, I think, a decent bit too, with a later pick, if they don't decide to go in that first or second round.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I think a lot of the issues with a Matt Corral could be fixable in the right situation with the right head coach. His footwork needs work. That's fixable. With the right NFL coach, that's not an issue. The processing, the sight, the vision needs work. That's a little harder to fix. We'll see how it goes. He sails some throws to the sidelines. He did have some receivers that made him look pretty good at times, especially this year. And the turnovers worry you. But overall, there's enough to see him, work and to stick around.
Yeah. I tend to agree. And yeah, I mean, we're going to bring up the same like jargon, cliche stuff with a lot of these guys, because it's just so true, because landing spot's going to be everything for like quarterbacks in this class, where you're hopefully, again, Trevor Lawrence pretty much got hung out to dry in his rookie season. And that was one of the better quarterback prospects of the last several years. So it's going to be everything. Who do you get to sit behind? What do your coaching staff look like? Who do you have in the receiver room? Who, how quick are you building that trust, even as a rookie? So yeah, Matt Corral, interesting. Definitely fell out of the spotlight a lot. And so is this guy, Carson Strong, who,
speaking of plummeting out of the spotlight.
Yeah. Who at the Senior Bowl did all right. With Carson Strong, obviously Nevada had to stay up late to watch him during the season. That was just AKA Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Stay.
Oh, so he's getting drafted by the Packers?
You're funny. So maybe at 92, I don't know.
Maybe.
If they trade Love, they're going to take him at like 92. Anyway, Packers fans, don't worry. Let's not panic. So
no, this is a Broncos quarterback
in an offense where you could tell he had the reins, making changes pre-snap. He's identifying guys. He knows where the blitz is coming from, and just what he does pre and post snap is so good. Yeah. And the arm strength is there.
Oh yeah.
The deep ball is nuts. He throws the back shoulder better than anybody, guaranteed in this class.
Yeah.
So why are we down on him? Because now we think quarterback position has to be, hey, I can run out the pocket and pick up 20.
Yeah.
I can do everything on the run. I must do everything on the run nowadays. That's why we backed off. I really think. Also the knee, which is fair. I think that's totally fair. Yeah. We don't know about it. There had obviously, Jim Nagy kind of brings up his guys a little bit and says knee's fine. Still think the knee's a legitimate concern. Obviously, guys want mobility. There will be coaches. There will be, QB coaches, offensive coordinators. If you don't have an offensive-minded head coach, aka the Steelers, who will say, we want a mobile quarterback. They've said it. So it's kind of like Steelers not taking Carson Strong. Fine. Like that, there will be teams like that. So,
yeah.
But again, there's so much to like with him. I do think the accuracy short sometimes. There are hiccups with footwork and accuracy. And that's why I don't think Strong is necessarily on the level of Pickett and Corral accuracy-wise, only because the short stuff can get really dicey at times. Not Desmond Ridder dicey at times, but it is. But again, the guy who can threaten those tight windows is Strong. And the guy post-snap, I think I want Strong first, Ridder second post-snap. And so all this, but yet, Nate, we're seeing him drop to kind of consensus QB6 almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of that does come from the curiosity about the knee. Anytime you suffer a major knee injury, it's going to be until you get that green light from those who know it best, which you would think would be NFL medical personnel. Not always, probably, but for the most part, those guys and gals know what they're doing very well. It's a lot of that comes from that. A lot of that comes from, like you said, he's not a stereotypical NFL quarterback anymore. Whereas maybe even as recent as 5 years ago, he is. Guys coming out,
100%.
Like gunslingers, the pocket passers,
100%.
the field generals. He's just not anymore. He's not a guy that's going to get you out of the pocket and making these 70-yard bombs downfield, running to his left with his, eyes blindfolded like Patrick Mahomes does, Never mind. I'm not going to make a Patrick Mahomes family joke. That's too low.
All right.
It's low-hanging fruit. Anyway, I think Strong, for me, he's got the best arm in this class, in my opinion. I think sometimes he looks a little shaky in the pocket, which I do wonder if that comes from that injury. And it could not. Some guys just have a little bit less confidence. I think if he improves his decision-making and shows that he can at least navigate the pocket for long enough to make it work without having the number one NFL offensive line in front of him, like some guys do, then I think you got a dang good prospect. And I expect to hear him go before probably pick 15 in the second round. I really do. I have him graded higher than most people do.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Nate has some high. Braden did say he had Strong QB2 for a while. And after some time, we throw a lot of pre-draft process into this and where guys rise. And again, partially that is listening to the NFL, but we got to stick to our board as well. So yeah, stealing for Strong. Mitch says Big Ben ? Yeah, I mean, I think you can go either quarterback from 08, Matt Ryan, Joe Flacco. Personally, Big Ben was such a playmaker and could survive hits like nobody's business, to where like Strong, even though he's 6'3", 226. So he's the biggest. He's got the most girth of the class. He's got the most girth of the class. But
big dude.
Big Ben is. I'm gonna go along the lines of Flacco Ryan. I think that's where the ceiling is.
Yeah,
both have been starters for a long time. Fair. Both have been to Super Bowls. One won.
I'm just going to tell you, Jake.
The other's been better than him, but anyway.
I'm just going to tell you, this doesn't really matter. And most of my stats will not really matter. Are you ready?
Yes.
Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year. Who else won that award? Andy Dalton, Derek Carr at the quarterback position.
Well, there you go. Andy Dalton.
Two guys that maybe not top tier, but hung around because, they can make the plays. Especially that Andy Dalton comparison. Derek Carr, not as much, but still a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. The comps are always fun to throw out just for fun. Do you see the comp stuff today, Nate?
I did.
The Orlovsky comp, absolute nonsense. No. Garrett Wilson is Julio Jones.
I wasn't on Twitter most of the day. Oh my Lanta.
So then somebody took it way too far, and I loved it. Where they were like. They did I don't remember who they caught. I think it was Drake London. Were like, he's Randy Moss. And then he goes, Jameson Williams is God for fun because what Orlovsky did. And that just made me think, if I were to do that, I would say Kyle Hamilton is Master Chief and that's it. And I would walk out.
Watch Halo, the new series streaming now on Paramount Network.
Non-spawn. What are you doing? Mitch says if you
I
put
was
a gun to-
watching that actually before we started.
You were watching that? We'll have
Yeah.
to talk afterwards how it is.
We will.
Mitch
I'm
says
trying
if
to
you put a
fix
gun to my
camera. I
head and
apologize
made
to
me
everyone's
start
eyes.
any of these guys day one, call me crazy. I'd pick Jack Cohn from Notre Dame. Are you giving me permission to call you crazy? Because I will.
You did say.
I
Call me
will.
Crazy.
I know there are Jack Cohn fans out there. Solid pocket passer.
Yeah.
I think Carson Strong is that as well. With a better arm. Better processor, personally. But I get it. Jack Cohn does a lot of the little things well, but it's just never going to elevate you. So I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. I think Jack
I don't
Cohn
know.
is what we would call a game manager. And that is why I could see what Mitch said.
He
You
could
know, if
stick
you
in the
put
league.
a gun to your head and make me start one of them on the first day,
He
a
could stick
game
in the
manager
league.
is not a bad idea.
He could stick in the league.
Yeah.
He
Maybe
wouldn't
like a
kill you, I
Trevor
guess,
Siemian style career.
He wouldn't kill you. But
He's not going to make you a Super Bowl
Mac Jones
contender.
hasn't really killed the Patriots, but
No.
he hasn't. When they're playing the Bills, it's like, well, pray for turnovers.
That's what they should have done.
Anyway,
Belichick should have traded Mac Jones, and they should draft Jack Cohn.
There you go.
Easy.
Jones for Cohn. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all on Carson Strong. I mean, again, I think he maneuvers the pocket decently, but again, is the knee okay? I guess we'll see, Nate. Finally, as we're getting close to our final rankings, but Sam Howell, player who I think, very much on the radar in the summer. Him and Rattler were really dominating the conversation. And I think a lot of people go back to Sam Howell's performance against Clemson as a freshman, nearly beat them. It was a good game if you watch it. That was a fun game. Wish they had pulled the upset off, but I think there are fans of Sam Howell out there. There are fans. There are some who have him in the top 2. That's fine. Deep ball is good. Trust in the touch and the velocity he can play the deep ball. There are problems, though, I feel like across the board elsewhere. The Bills do have a lot more talent than New England. I agree. But also, Josh Allen's so much better than Mac Jones.
Yeah,
like 4 tiers out of him. Anyway, but Sam Howell, I think everybody says this when they watch him. He looks like Baker. He moves around like Baker. Nobody wants to hear that nowadays, understandably. But I do think, surprisingly, had a ridiculous rushing season in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Don't see that happening again in the NFL. Probably won't. But he's a tough son of a gun. He's poised in the pocket. I think he kind of needs to gear down the arm a little bit in the short and intermediate areas. I think you see him kind of, when he's pressured a little bit, he'll just kind of unleash the arm and it'll be just a check down and it's going off his hands because, you threw it 70 miles an hour to a check down from about 12 feet away, but whatever. Anyway,
that's like me playing shortstop in baseball.
He just does it sometimes where it's like, okay, well, hey, no more rocket balls, please. And if you know that reference, that's great. If you know that reference and you know that Mike Holmgren said that to Brett Favre, good. If you didn't know that, now you do.
Learn something new every day about the Packers organization.
I think the accuracy is good. I do. I think it's solid. I think he's decisive. I do. The touch, obviously, like I said, deep balls there, competitive, production's there. I think the mechanics are good. It's just like decision making, and that's a big part of playing this position. And some of the decisions are very Stafford at his worst, Carson Wentz type decisions where you're like, what is happening here? He could be on the Carson Wentz WTF Interception of the Week award a few times. I don't like that. So, but again, like I said, I think mechanics and accuracy are pretty good considering. So, Nate, what do you got on Sam Howell?
I think it's funny that we're talking about Sam Howell because I do have him in this. Like, I will say, for as many quarterbacks as we've talked about, I have him in the mix for that number. If that makes sense, I'm not going to say what he's ranked without revealing that. Okay. But he is someone we probably should talk about. I just genuinely do not have a great taste in my mouth for Sam Howell. I don't know if it's because he's a North Carolina quarterback. I'm not really sure what the deal is.
It's fair.
He's experienced for his age, just being like 21, and I think they said 21.6.
He's the youngest guy.
Like that. Yeah, he's experienced.
He's
a day one starter with the Tar Heels. Not that really says that much all around, but yeah, North Carolina, go Tar Heels. A big arm, a guy that can really stretch it vertically. You watch him play, and it's infuriating. He holds the ball a lot. Takes sacks from holding the ball. 100%. He's not going to give you a lot of creativity off the break. He's not going to be a scrambler. He's an average athlete with roller coaster accuracy. And I think that reflects in how I have him ranked. To North Carolina, really highly ranked, was at the time kind of a weird grab for them. I think he was a top 5 dual threat. Trying to remember the rankings from 2019, but I'm pretty sure he was number 3. It's just one of those things, sometimes you get a different taste in your mouth for guys. And he's not my favorite in this class. He's not a top 6 for me.
I do think, obviously, we want to bring up that he did lose Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, Michael Carter, Javonte Williams from 2020 to 2021. So that's a wildly different group. And I think a lot of people went after him hard after that Virginia Tech game, which was bad for sure, and had that WTF interception at the end.
Yeah.
So decision making, but again, was still a competent player, threw a good deep ball. I think if he had stayed another year, I'd feel a little bit more confident in him. But again, like I said, I think the grades are going to be so close together, kind of in this one area with all these guys, and I think the ceiling grade is going to push me to swing for the tools. But we're going to get there. So Sam Howell is solid, but again, when you have the decision making issue, and when we talk about decision making issues, we're talking like Sam Darnold turnovers. That's bad. Like the Sam Darnold turnovers, everybody's like, man, but he's got tools. And then
he was number 4.
He was number 4 dual threat.
I was close.
I mean, that's still pretty good.
Well, yeah, he's behind Spencer Rattler at number 1, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Ryan Holinsky, South Carolina, and Graham Mertz was a name I did not see on there.
Lordy.
Yeah, sorry, I had to fact check myself.
You mentioned 3 guys who we're going to talk about next year, Nate.
Yeah,
for sure. Well,
yeah,
I
would say so.
Maybe 3. We may talk about Bo Nix. Not sure. We'll definitely be talking about Rattler and Daniels, though. I think
if we talk about Bo Nix, I don't know.
Something happened.
We will talk about Bo Nix one way or another.
I guess. We're gonna talk about him because he's playing at Oregon. So we got through the top 6 consensus-ish. Nate, do you have a favorite sleeper in the class that you like?
If I had to pick one, I think I like what I see out of Bailey Zappi.
Okay.
Is it Zapp? Is it Zappy?
No, it's Zappy.
I thought it was Zappy.
It's Zappy.
WKU. I think despite the small frame that he has, I think he has a lot of desirables. When I wrote down his passing ability, I described it as a whip-like delivery. It just comes out really fast from his hand. It's something that I enjoy.
6'1.5".
So not super small.
I mean, he's not that much smaller than Malik Willis, believe it or not.
That's
at least
true.
From the measurables I have here.
He definitely doesn't have the same athletic ability as Malik Willis. I will say that. He's not going to be a guy that kills you out of the pocket. Yeah. But it's a guy that kind of a grinder. He started out at FC Houston Baptist. That was his
playing slot for the Patriots, Nate? Grinder?
Pretty much, yeah. I just wanted to get another draft.
How many times are we in a comp 2 of these quarterbacks to Slade Bolden?
A lot.
Oh man, that's so
very, very often. Actually, I had to sort through my rankings. I accidentally had him listed under wide receiver. No, I'm just kidding. Now
he's moving Slade Bolden to quarterback. We've had enough of this class.
Yes,
I get it with Zappy. I think pushing the ball outside the numbers is the main question. I just think it kind of dies a little bit deeper.
Yeah, it does.
So that's the thing. I like Caleb Ellaby. I'm on the Ellaby hype train. Draft that dude mid rounds. See what you got. That's almost a punt for next year. Don't care. I think he climbs the pocket well. I think he delivers well. The mechanics, everything's on time. But again, obviously not the best athlete to escape and make plays, but I just think he does so much in structure. I think the deep ball is good. I think plays a clean game. I like him. I like LB. If I were to throw my name out there on one other guy, it's definitely it's EJ Perry from Brown. Smart dude. Well, at least I hope. He went to Brown. Okay. Went to Brown. That's impressive in itself, but a great athlete too. So like you put that with, again, he's 6'1" and 5'8", 211, and you go, oh, that's not big. He's same height as Matt Corral, 211 to Matt Corral's 212.
Yeah,
that's it. So if you believe in Corral, don't see why you can't believe in a guy like EJ Perry later, who could maybe stick in the league with athleticism,
sure,
and the football IQ he has.
What do you think about Brock Purdy from your sister's alma mater?
Oh my goodness, he is a bad. It's bad, dude.
I just really wanted to
man.
say that.
he makes the decision-making WTF interceptions of the week from Sam Howell look like child's play.
Yeah.
Okay. The interception he threw in the bowl game. Do you remember it against Clemson?
Yeah.
Do you remember it? Tip ball. I'm going to bat the ball and it's going to get picked.
Yep.
I lost my ever-loving mind. What are you doing? So, yeah, health is concerning. Skylar Thompson, another athlete. I'd move him to wide receiver. Like 100%. He ran 4.68 as a quarterback. EJ Perry ran 4.6. I mean, Skylar Thompson can run all over the yard. He's backyard football like microcosm. I would consider Taysom Hill. Move that dude around. Move him around. Skylar Thompson. I like that. I like that selection as well. I think you got to swing late. So we talked about our sleepers, Nate. We got to do it. We got to rank some. We said we were going to rank some. It was on the thumbnail. So we got to do it. We got to rank some. Nate, 5-1 or 1-5. I don't care. Which direction would you like to go?
Let's do 5-1. And I'm going to start with honorable mention because this class from 5 to 9 may change within as soon as a week. In my opinion, it's very tight. So can I give my honorable mention?
It's okay because I haven't put final grades in for these guys yet. I'm just going off of like what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. So
that's what it's funny that you say that because I haven't watched Cone or Crumb, and I know they're not going to change anything. But the guys that I have seen are all pretty tightly contested in here.
I might not watch either of them.
From 9 to 5. At 9 I've got Perry. At 8 I've got Ellaby.
Okay.
At 7 I've got Howell.
Okay.
At 6 I've got Zappy.
Okay.
And then I'll just go with 5, and that's Matt Corral.
Okay. Matt Corral 5. Oh, you can keep going. We'll
no. Let's do 5-5. 4.
You want to do the 5-5 thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay. All right. You asked for this.
So give me your 5.
So my number 5 is going to be Carson Strong. That's my 5 currently. So there you go. Nate, 4. We got
4. Ritter.
Okay. 4 for me is Matt Corral.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
3 is Carson Strong.
3 is Carson Strong for you. Okay. 3 for me is going to be Kenny Pickett.
Okay. 2 for me is going to be Kenny. Don't throw that Pickett.
Love it. 2 for me is going to be Malik Willis.
Okay. 1 for me is going to be Malik Willis.
1 for me is going to be your 5. I think Desmond Ritter. For me
4.
is going to be my 1. So, you're 4. Your 5 is Corral. That's right.
Yes.
So we both left Sam Howell out of our top 5. The top 5 has all the same names, but the order is pretty stark.
The order is slightly different.
It's contrasting, which I like. So Nate, do you have anything that like from 1 to 5, you're like, this is like why I think this is like this, like why I have put these here is so you have Willis at 1 and you have Pickett at 2.
Sure.
I think you said it when we started off the show is these were kind of the 2 above everybody that you thought were the case.
Yeah.
Is that just kind of where you started? And then it was like,
yeah.
Okay.
I think a little bit of that is it could be attributed, to hindsight bias. These are the two guys that we've been watching for a little while. They're also guys that grew during the year, and I like to see that growth. Guys that trail off towards the end of the year or have a worse year this year are going to fall behind. Which I think is an explanation of why Strong is in 3. There are some things that are concerning about Strong. However, I will also say I have Strong at 3 because of the potential. I think the ceiling is really high.
Okay.
For him, maybe the highest in this class, and a guy that I could see maybe me have a little draft crush on, and by the time we're calling him out, maybe have him ranked, in that 2 spot, maybe that 1 spot. Because if we take potential into it, he's probably up there for me, and I think that's just the nature of it. I have Howell dropping. I could put Howell down at 8 or 9. Honestly.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. For me, I think it's very simple. Why Ritter is 1 and Willis is 2. Nate, do you think you know why I have them at 1 and 2?
No.
Here's the thing, folks. If you're swinging in this class, you might as well swing for the fences and go with the upside fellas. That's where I think that's where I'm at with this class. I really do. I think you swing for the fence here if you're going to swing at all. Like, this is a class where it's just kind of like, all right, well, I think we know what Pickett is. We know what he is, right? So yeah. I don't see much changing other than, again, I think if, you won't see him probably if he becomes a starter, you won't see him bail empty pockets as much. You won't see him run into sacks as much. That's where I think it kind of just caps for him. I don't think the ceiling is going to be crazy to cap or anything like that. But when you have 2 guys who are fantastic athletes and who can make plays out of the pocket, who have a couple of howitzers, RPGs, whatever you want to call them, strapped to them, I think that's where you go. And like I said, I still wouldn't even do it in the top 20.
No,
I still wouldn't do it in the top 20, even for these guys, just because, like I said, I don't. Does anybody crack the top 5 for you from this class in last year's?
No, probably not. Not unless you're considering superior upside and not thinking
I could see the
current performance.
I could see the upside grade potentially passing a guy like Mac Jones, or if you were really just not high on somebody like Lance or Wilson, maybe you'd think you'd put somebody higher.
It would have to be a situation like that where I have watched last year's class, don't think about their potential, and think about all the potential of this year's class.
Oh, so you're gonna play, so you're gonna play the
like
future
I'm going
card
like
with these guys.
Superior upside, superior downside.
So you're playing the future card with this class, and you'd have to play the current card.
That would be the only way they crack that top 5. I would say.
Totally understand.
Maybe other than what I would have thought of Mac Jones at the time.
Yeah, I get it. I still think like Mac Jones. I'd still say he's a head and a shoulder. Pair of shoulders above Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I agree.
I just
especially with what we've seen from him. Like I feel like there's room to grow from what we've seen even. So
I mean, like I said, I think he did so well with like Earhart Perkins in that offense where they, again, in an Earhart Perkins, they run a lot of similar plays from a lot of different alignments with different personnel. They change up personnel and alignment, and again, you have to know where you're going post snap. You have to know what you see pre snap. So Mac Jones did a great job of that, and maybe we undersold him a little bit. I don't think Pickett could do what Jones did in year 1. I don't, and no. I don't think I kind of like an undefined thing with what Matt Corral could do year 1. I'm not sure. Strong, I think I know what he can do year 1. It's just the problem is like brother, if the first and second reads aren't there and you're in a place where pressure is constantly in your face, I'm worried about it because, again, is the knee holding up? And again, are you going to be able to continue to improve that maneuverability around the pocket to where you can make the plays a la Joe Flacco, a la Matt Ryan? Like, that's just where I'm at. And then the other 2 are like, well, year 1 could be a struggle, but where are we year 3? So that's where I'm at. Like, I think I'm swinging. Maybe I'll change in a month. We'll revisit these. Nate, I'm going to ask you this.
I just think if you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Okay, So, okay, let's see. All right. We have a few questions here. So this is the Q&A time. So if you guys want to throw them out, we threw our rankings out there. If you want us to go through it one more time, ask again in the comments. But this is Q&A time for us. We got a little bit of time. I know we've gone a little bit longer. And obviously, with more of these position things, there will be more names. So we're going to try and make sure we do a good job of kind of throwing off each other a little bit more and condensing it. But there was a lot to talk about with these guys just because it's just so not cut and dry. Like there's so much to decipher in this group. Braden says 1 or 2 go in round 1. What would you say predictively? No way it's 3 or more, in my opinion. The only way I think it's 3 or more is if somebody moves into the back of the first for that 5th-year option.
Yeah.
Or the Lions do it themselves at 32. If they like somebody enough.
Yeah.
So, what would I say predictably?
Oh, man. Okay, I can answer this.
Go ahead. Tell me what you think.
I can't answer this. I lied.
Okay. So, health willing, I don't know if you guys have heard me sniffle, but I'm sick. Health willing, 2-round mock out tomorrow. So, you'll see what my thoughts are. Off the top of my head right now, the way I think 3 happens is if there's a team that loves the third guy after Pickett and Willis, and Pickett goes 6 and Willis goes 9, which is something we could see happening. I could see if the Panthers love him that much and Matt Rule says, I need to extend my job somehow, some way. In this room, we take our guy who we like. And if it's Pickett, then I could see Atlanta or Seattle saying, Malik Willis is our guy. We're taking him in the top 10. Then I don't know. But if teams stay patient, like nobody's going to make a move for anybody, the Eagles don't feel the need to make a move for either of the top 2 if they fall. The Saints say, we're good. We don't want another guy after Winston. We don't want this class at all. This is why we brought Winston back. Fine. Then it's like Pittsburgh, the second team. Because I don't know if Pittsburgh necessarily needs to move up. Potentially. They'll know. They'll know, right? If Malik Willis is their guy and Kenny Pickett goes at 6, they're like, all right.
They'll know they have to do it. Yeah.
They're like, all right, we got to figure this out.
Man, it's just I'm sitting here like actively trying to think. I'm scrolling through my old notes,
I think
trying
Pittsburgh,
to figure out.
I do think Pittsburgh, if they're like sitting there at 20, they shouldn't move. If their guy falls at 20, great.
Yeah.
But there is no way I'm justifying moving up 10, 12 spots for a guy. Like I get the trade up spot is 10 because the Jets don't want to move, or the Jets do want to move that second first-round pick. They've talked about wanting to do so, right? So have the Giants.
Yeah.
But, like, what does 20 to 10 get you? Because I feel like Washington's not making a move. They got Wentz. Minnesota extended Cousins. They're not going to do it, right? Or at least all indications say no.
Well, and I think up until recently, you could have argued the Saints were going to have to take.
Yeah, I thought the Saints maybe were the team to do it, right?
But I don't think they will now either.
No,
I do think they like what they see in Ian Book, even just as a backup.
If you're Houston, you're not taking a chance at somebody falling to 13 to you. You're taking the guy at 3.
Yeah,
and I still think Davis Mills would fit in really nicely with this class. If you were in this class, I think Davis Mills, first one off the board. What? No,
no, I agree completely.
Probably not, but like he would like fit in well here. He'd be like, listen,
he's definitely would be in contention for a top 2 spot in this class.
Davis Mills would be like, aha, fair competition this year. Nice. And so I don't know. So Pittsburgh, if there's a guy you like and they get past 9, hey, we're not moving.
Yeah.
You want a guy to
I think
come
that
in?
most recent comment from Braden that's there.
Yeah, I see it too.
With the Winston and Trubisky signings is why I don't see 3. I think that's spot on. I
100% agree. I 100% agree. Unless Detroit loves one of the guys at 32.
Yeah.
That's the only way I think it's 3.
I'll put my stake in this. I'll say 3 by 35. 3 by 35.
I think that's fair. Somebody moves up in the early second to kick off day 2.
Maybe 3 by 40.
If Vegas books were smart, they'd put the line at 2.5.
Yeah.
Drive people nuts.
That's where I would draw it too.
Drive people nuts. Put it at 2.5. Lee likes Bailey Zappi. in the right system, 2 years, good for the Colts or Tampa Bay. I imagine Tampa Bay's somehow for some reason unknown good with Kyle Trask. Took him in the second round. They're probably going to stick with that. If it's the Colts, that's fine.
I think the Colts
Matt
could
Ryan.
take somebody, especially in the second, to learn behind Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
because Matt Ryan has a wealth of experience.
Yeah, 100%. I still think I'd go Elliott over Zappe, in my opinion.
I would too.
Mitch asked Saints,
and I don't think so.
I don't think they'll do it.
If they do,
I have a Saints mock for you tomorrow. I have them taking a quarterback late, but it's a fun one.
It's a fun one.
We might have mentioned him.
Okay.
He's got some juice, Nate.
I think I probably have an idea of who.
And he went to an Ivy League school.
Oh.
That's what I did. For fun.
Okay. That makes sense.
I think with their last pick, I'm pretty sure I did that. Just for fun. Mr. Death.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Says Packers trade for DK, get Olave in the first.
Oh my Lanta.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on a rant about trading for a receiver right now.
All right, I'm gonna watch basketball.
You wanted to. So either the Packers are lying, they didn't want to pay Devontae Adams, which could be possible. Just saying we wanted to pay him makes you look better, no? If you don't want to pay a receiver $20+ million, why would you trade a first and a second, then perhaps turn around and trade a first for DK Metcalf, who is not better than Devontae Adams by any stretch of imagination, and say, okay, now at the end of 2022, we got to pay this guy a lot of money? No, I'm not doing that. I understand why you would like DK Metcalf. I get it. I understand. It's fine. Like, he's a solid player. I don't think he's the best from the class, unfortunately. I had wide receiver 1 tab on him, and that did not happen, in my opinion. But I just don't think that makes sense to do. And it concerns me what Green Bay's going to do. They'll probably, I really think they might just go Daxton Hill and either Boye Mafe or Arnold Ebiketie in round 1 and say screw receiver the first and take 2 on day 2 because, hey, we love that. That's just my thought right now on them. Olave in the first, I'd like it. I like it, Nate. Do you like Olave in the first? Do you want him at 18?
I like Olave I like Olave in the first for sure. I like him this one specific location in the first.
18?
That's for sure. Yes.
18, right? Yeah. I get it.
Yes.
Ooh, Braden says he's going to watch some MBS. Yeah. Have fun with that.
I'm tired, man.
What?
Just messing
with
up?
What's up?
I said I'm tired of the Chiefs, man. Then I said I'm just messing with you.
It's wild. Yeah,
I honestly, the Saints were apparently on MVS. I'm glad we didn't land MVS, but I think for the Chiefs, he makes a lot of sense. And fits in as a nice spot.
I have a video that I'm working on for the Chiefs. It's going to be a fun one. It's probably one of the most in-depth I've done in a video about replicating Tyreek Hill. I'm going to enjoy it. Cody had a question a week ago, and I'm trying to scroll, Nate, to find it. If anybody has any other questions, let us know. I'm trying to figure out where it is. It was about the Lions. Trying to find it. Cody, where are you? Lee says Olave at 22, Alec Pierce at 59. Yeah, I like that. I'm in. Yeah, I mean, Alec Pierce, size, speed, win at catch point. It makes perfect sense. Again, he's athletic testing, size, blocking, checks all those boxes. So I get that, and Olave is the separator. Does everything. I can't find Cody's tweet. Cody, if you are still here and you remember what the question is, I'm gonna lose my mind because I can't find it. But it was on a Lions mock too, and I'm really sad that I can't find it. I think here's what I think it was. I think it was regarding what to do at 2 if Hutchinson's not available. So I'm going to answer this because I wanted to. Nate, what do you what would you do if you're the Lions and Aiden Hutchinson goes 1? What do you do?
And Aiden Hutchinson, because when I think the right move then is a trade down for them. I think depending if the trade's there, I honestly would put my bet on that's what'll happen. If he does
Yeah,
go.
but what would you do if you
What
can't
would
trade?
I do with the pick?
Yeah, if you can't trade it.
Oh, if you can't trade it, I think
Correct.
best player available, whoever you've got on your board, is like at that point is it. Whether that comes to patching holes on offense or on defense, that team needs help, man. That team needs.
I'm taking Hamilton.
I think it's Hamilton or Thibodeau, right? I mean, it's Hamilton, Thibodeau.
They will not take
Thibodeau. Not Equinu, no.
Ekwonu?
No, they don't really need Thibodeau either.
They don't need Ekwonu. They can use Thibodeau. Like if Hutchinson's on the board, they're going to take him, right? So I mean, naturally,
but I think other than Hamilton, I think it's a trade down. I really do.
I agree. I know what you're saying,
and I think they'll get a lot of value out of that trade.
Here's the thing, Nate. From what I've heard on Kayvon Thibodeau, I have a feeling Jermaine Johnson's going before him. So do with that what you will. Also, Trayvon Walker sounds like escaping the top 7. So there's also that. So there's very possible that Thibodeau is the 4th edge rusher off the board. How does that make you feel, Nate?
That is pretty crazy to think about. That's pretty crazy to think about because I really liked, but I think Jermaine Johnson's one of those guys that we've seen really echo.
He's a beast.
What's the word? Stake his claim. I think he's going to be an impact in the NFL. I really do.
Yeah.
And then I think this class is just deep too. Like especially first round deep. Trayvon Walker is just an insanely athletic dude. He was basketball star. In addition to 5-star basketball recruit, in addition to a 5-star football recruit. Like
I think Nate. I think he's going top 3. I wouldn't do it
that much with how the
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, but I think he's going top 3. Spoiler for the mock draft. Hopefully, I'm going to do tonight, but I don't think he escapes the top 3. It's crazy. I like what Braden's saying about Kansas City, and we want to talk about trading Tyreek Hill away. Trade up a little bit in round 1 for an edge, then take wide receiver, defensive tackle with the 2nd round pick. Yeah, the replicating Tyreek Hill vids can be fun because I'm putting clips in it with commentary. I haven't really done that much, but I'm excited for it.
That'd be fun.
How about this, Nate? What position would you like to do next week? Do you have a favorite? But yes, Mitch, I like Travis Jones round 2. What have we done?
We did edge, right? We did one other one, didn't we?
Nope, we have not done any.
When did we broke down something? Maybe we did we did rebuilding stuff. That's why
we've done rebuilds. We've done some rebuilds. So we got to kind of decide.
Let's do wide receiver. Let's get it.
Wide receiver next week.
We know it's super deep. We know it's a long time. Let's get it done.
Yes. Guys, you think wait till you see the excitement level for next week's show. It's going to be a banger. Receivers. We're doing that. Okay. I think that's going to call it we're going to call it tonight on NFL Draft Live. Nate Williamson. Big shout out to him for jumping on for literally an hour and a half to talk with you guys. He's a busy man. He does a lot of stuff. Does a lot of things. Wears a lot of hats, including the cool hat he's wearing tonight. So y'all throw your love his way. Where's your nameplate thing? Why isn't it showing?
I don't know.
At Nate JW Sports for those who should follow him.
Can I give a nice little plug? I don't usually do this, but I kind of feel the need to do this. I just launched my 25th year project. I try and do a project every year. This year, it's a travel, nature, outdoor Instagram, specifically for that purpose. It's at Nature Nate Williamson.
There you go.
If you are so kind, I follow back most of the time.
There you go.
All the time if you come from here, but
the time. There you go. Nature Nate Williamson and Nate JW Sports on Twitter. You can follow me at Jake NFL Draft. If you don't already, this YouTube channel is about to go nuclear this next month, folks. Okay, so strap in, Packers fans. expect at least a video a week. For the Packers fans who are in here right now, I know there are a couple for sure. Expect a video a week. Yes, I promise I didn't forget about Jaron Reed signing. We'll get there. We'll get there with the video. I've just been long weekend at a camp. Caught something, probably cold, just because allergies and weather shifting here in the lovely Midwest. So just kind of threw me off a little bit this week. But
I was gonna say you were in the warm Florida weather too for a while.
I was in the
so
So I've been.
So you
all
got
over.
that roller coaster of temperatures.
Yeah. So I tried to Jordan fluid tonight for y'all. Somehow my nose has not finally been a floodgate, as it has been for the last 36 hours for this hour and a half. So
I think when you're talking, it helps a lot. Nate,
we should record a video. Do you want Nate? Do you want to co-op a Saints mock? We'll talk about this afterwards. We're going to get crazy afterwards. But
yes, sir.
If you're not subscribed, do so. If you don't have the bell on for notifications, do that. Throw a like down there. If you're a Packers fan and you haven't seen the last video on receiver, have you been living under a rock? I'm not going to toot its own horn, but I'll tell you what, people seem to like it.
Well, I'll tell you two things really quick. I want to get done in relatively recent format.
Okay.
I want a Pittsburgh mock with our buddies.
Ooh.
And I want our Saints mock. I want Brendan to come on with us.
Okay, so you want to do those two things?
Yes.
We might have to go twice a week for that.
I think we'll probably end up doing that anyway.
I think we're about to do it. Mitch did say wide receiver's going to take 3 hours. I promise it won't. I promise. Yes. Promise.
I'm at a time limit, Mitch.
No. We're 90 minutes is like straight capping. Like that's the cap. We've hit it. We're not doing 3 hours next week. I promise. The only time we're doing 3 hours or more is Thursday and Friday of the NFL draft, folks. So don't forget about that if you're watching here and you don't have other commitments elsewhere. NFL draft, the live show, Nate and myself.
Oh, it's super fun.
Year 6. It's crazy. Year 6. It's crazy, but we're doing it again.
Our show is a first grader.
Our show is a first grader. It's going to be awesome. We've got some stuff up our sleeve this time around. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. Like we said, we break down all the picks for you guys. We like to have fun. We throw up little graphics like NFL Network does for the players. I've been working on that tirelessly. It hurts. My sleep schedule sucks, but just remember that. So Thursday and Friday, we will be on as those 2 days start. And we have guests. We normally have guests. Lineup should be good again this year. So don't forget about those things. Keep it tight on the channel, and keep your eyes peeled for a lot of stuff. Nate, myself, we will catch you guys next week for sure on Thursday talking receivers. Maybe another day next week or the week after, but show up Thursdays. We're here. So thank you guys. We will see you guys next time. Pineapple is great.